Hmm. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Hey, the internet. Today I was listening to a podcast called Scriptnotes, and it's hosted by a successful screenwriter named John August, and he brought up what I thought was a very interesting point, which is that there's a correlation between young people now not dating and also rom-coms not getting made anymore. And I thought that was actually an interesting point. Because when I was younger, rom-coms were very popular, and TV shows like Friends or New Girl or things like that were cheesy, yes, but when you watched it, at least you got a more idealized look at romance. Now, we would make fun of it, but thinking back, I didn't have an older brother to tell me about dating. I learned about it through these TV shows and these movies. And were they ridiculous and over the top and unrealistic? Yeah, but still, looking back, it showed healthy looks at relationships and that people got into arguments and they talked through it. They went on dates. Some were good, some were bad, and that was just part of life. Whereas now, young men will listen to podcasts and listen to influencers like Andrew Tate is a famous example, who gives best case scenario a very cynical look at romance in the modern world. Now, is that guy a scammer? Yeah. Are some of these other guys scammers? Probably. And also, at the very least, they probably have some deep-seated issues towards relationships and women that get filtered into all of that and young men absorb. And they look at things through their lens. Whereas when I was younger, it was rom-coms and it was cheesy TV shows, but it was a healthier way to look at it and to get examples of what dating was like. And again, we made fun of it, but I'm sure on some level we were absorbing it, and so dating was a more normal thing. Now listen, you're probably going, how much can a movie really influence people? And here's the thing. Just this last week, Stranger Things got released, and just because in one episode they referenced the famous novel A Wrinkle in Time, that book has been flying off the shelf for young people. And again, were rom-coms cheesy? 100%. Did they produce an unrealistic look at love? Sure. But as these things devolved into what was called like cringe comedy, they were not as popular, not as widely consumed, and the relationships they showed were people whose lives were a complete train wreck. Whereas like people in rom-coms, was it overly exaggerated? Were these people way too glamorous, dressed way too well? Yeah, but again, you saw people having a functional relationship. Wittier than most people are going to be in life? Sure. Was everyone better looking than what you're normally going to date? Probably. But again, people were having healthy relationships, working through problems. They had friends who would give them positive advice or wacky bad advice that by the end of the episode or the movie, they would learn to see a more positive look at relationships, which I'm going to guess the Andrew Tates of the world are not giving, because the internet feeds on depression and angst and anger to get people addicted to it, to keep going back to watching or listening to those kind of podcasts and videos. And clearly, there's a lot of other factors that keep people from dating these days, but that is an interesting observation that I was actually struck by. I was thinking about all day. Guess what? The media you consume does influence you. So I don't know what media you're consuming personally. I'm not going to judge. If it's Andrew Tate type stuff, ask yourself, has it really been improving your love life? Probably not. Go online, go to Netflix, whatever you got. Find an old rom-com and see if you can learn something from that. And I don't know. I'm not a woman, but if you're listening to some podcasts where they're shitting on guys all the time and saying they're shitty, I get it, because guys now just listen to Andrew Tate and similar D-bags. But, we're not all bad. Go watch a rom-com again. Encourage Hollywood to make those. And find a guy who's, somewhat willing to work on themselves as a person and not listen to people who are scam artists like Andrew Tate. So I'm going to go back to learning about what my love language is before I continue watching the newest season of Stranger Things with the rest of society. Oh, that tracks.